Life is like a jigsaw puzzle, piece by piece. Her story unfolding, her spirit released. Each fragment she placed with tender care, creating a picture beyond compare. Edges marked the borders of her days, bright moments, soft whispers, intricate ways. With love and patience, she fit each part, crafting her life with a generous heart. Some pieces gleamed with joy and delight. Others were shadowed, dark as night. Yet through it all, she never lost grace, finding the fit, each piece in its place. Now the puzzle is finished, the final piece set. Her legacy lives on, you'll never forget. Her image complete, her journey done, a life well lived, a race well run. In the grand puzzle of life, Raynor played her part, a beautiful soul and a cherished heart. Good morning and welcome to you all. My name is Rhonda Edwards. We have come together today to pause, to remember, to acknowledge the rich and beautiful life of Raynor Thomas and the special place she held in each of your hearts. I'd like to also welcome today those that are joining us remotely and unable to be here, especially those in Ireland. So welcome to you. I began today's service with a poem titled Life is Like a Jigsaw Puzzle. Raynor had a real love of jigsaw puzzles, and perhaps that's because she appreciated how individual pieces on their own can seem ordinary. Yet when they come together, they create something complete and wonderful. In much the same way, Raynor's life was made up of many pieces: family, friendships, travel, and the interests she pursued, all coming together to reveal the picture of a life well lived. However, when someone we love is no longer with us, it can feel as if pieces of our own lives are missing. That sense of sadness and loss is natural. It shows how deeply Raynor touched your lives. And it is through the memories, the shared moments, and the love you carry that you will find comfort and strength in the days ahead. Sometimes the most powerful thing is a cuddle that asks for nothing and gives everything. With Raynor, you were met with a cuddle when you arrived, and you were sent off with one when you left. And in between those two embraces lived her care, her support, her connection, and her warmth. Raynor lived a rich and active life, always with a busy social calendar. She liked catching up with friends and enjoying their company. Those who knew her speak of a great listener, compassionate, without judgment, and deeply loyal. When you spoke, Raynor gave you the full attention that mattered. Raynor was an amazing seamstress, creating beautiful quilts stitched with patience, innovation, and precision. These were not just pieces of fabric brought together, but lasting expressions of her creativity and generosity. A jigsaw puzzle was always on the go, laid out on a dedicated table. When Raynor's children visited, they would eagerly join in, searching for that elusive piece and showing their excitement when it was finally found. Raynor was also an avid reader, always with several books on the go. Her reading tastes ranged widely, from crime to historical fiction and into genealogy, reflecting her curiosity about people, stories, and the threads that connect us through the generations. Raynor was a Carlton supporter through and through. The 1980s were an incredible time for Carlton fans, with 3 memorable grand final wins in 1981, 82 and 87. To celebrate each victory, Raynor would ring her cowbell so loudly that this sound reverberated through the whole house. It was so loud it could probably be heard from the nearing farming sheds. Raynor had a great passion for travel, whether on textile trips or simply exploring the world. She cherished the experiences of meeting people, discovering new cultures and forming connections that lasted long after the journey ended. Over the years, Raynor visited many places, including Syria, Ireland, Russia, America, China, Vietnam, Canada, Spain and Morocco, just to name a few, creating many treasured memories that she would speak of so fondly. But above all of her travels, hobbies and friendships, Raynor's greatest love was her family. Losing her beloved husband, Laurie, in September 2006, after nearly 40 years of marriage, was devastating. And yet Raynor showed remarkable resilience, carrying on with strength, grace, and a quiet determination to continue cherishing and nurturing the family they had built together. They were blessed with 3 children, Alison, Andrew and Greg. And Raynor welcomed her daughters-in-law Leah and Michelle with open arms. She was a proud and devoted grandma to Emma, Neve, Scarlett and Declan. Raynor maintained a strong and close relationship with her sister Sandra, as well as her siblings-in-law David and Jenny, Madge and Ian, Rosemary and Brian, and her nieces and nephews. Life's furry companions were also deeply important to Raynor and were always considered part of her family. She will now be reunited with both her husband, Laurie, and her beautiful schnoodle, Pringle. Raynor lived a life that prioritised others and valued the people around her. She carried herself with strong principles, respect, loyalty, honesty, compassion and decency. These qualities shaped the way she nurtured her family, welcomed friends and connected with everyone she met. Raynor lived with heart, spirit and kindness, and it showed in everything she did. When we think about Raynor's life, there is much to reflect upon, and I'd like to now invite her son Andrew to come forward and share his mother's eulogy.
Raynor Thomas, near Ely, was born on 30th of April 1944 at Ivanhoe. The first child of Ray and Pearl Ely and sister of Sandra, who was born 18 months later at Fairfield. The first years of Mum's life were with her family and her grandmother's home on 16 Gordon Street, Fairfield. Her maternal great-grandmother also lived there, and for a short time her cousins Noel and Russell lived there with their family too. There was lots of family about. There were no hard rules on what the kids could do, and they got up to many adventures. Mum was the oldest of the group, but it was not her nature to take control as many older siblings do. Rather, Mum would make sure that everyone felt included in the activities they were doing. Holidays were yearly trips down to Port Arlington, and it was rough living down there. It was under a canvas tent on Hessian sacks, but it was always looked forward to. It was a place for new place to get into different antics and adventures. At the age of 12, tragedy struck when her mother Pearl died, and later, after grandmother Annie died, number 16 was sold and the family moved next door to number 14 Gordon Street, the house owned by her paternal great aunt May. The cousins had moved into what Mum called the brick house down the road at number 20, so there was still lots of family about. May took over the raising of Mum and Sandra, taught them home skills and took them on many outings around the city, often with her cousins. Mum shared a room with Sandra, and like any such arrangements, there was an imaginary line down the middle. Mum had her side, Sandra had hers. But they did get along very well, and that close relationship remained for the entire of Mum's life. Mum saw it as a responsibility to look after Sandra. One such example, they decided to take the bus to go to the local pool. Sandra forgot her bathers. So whilst Sandra waited at the pool, Mum walked all the way back to the home at Fairfield, got the bathers, walked all the way back so that Sandra and Mum could still enjoy the day together. Mum enjoyed school and performed very well. It was recommended after primary school that Mum started secondary school with Westgarth Central, which was a feeder school into University High, where she finished her later high school years. Mum was also taught various skills at home, including cooking, sewing and needlecraft. But not all lessons were well received. Elocution lessons, for example, Mum hated those. She never really liked cooking either. In fact, she once told me she hated cooking. But even so, still served up some of my favourite meals as a child, including her roast. And I've never been able to make my roast potatoes as crispy and tasty as she did. University High was followed by 3 years at Cobram Teachers College, where Mum earned her infant teacher certificate and made friends with the ladies who shared the lockers next to her. It was a group that got on really well, and Mum maintained contact with them her entire life. After graduating from Teachers College, Mum was placed first at the school at Cobram and then followed by Elmore. And it was at Elmore, after a trip to the Flicks, that Mum and her friends decided to go to the local dance. It was a decision that would shape her life, as there she met a young man named Raynor Thomas, my dad, who was herd testing there at the time. And Dad was smitten right away. He pursued her with everything he had, won her over, and they got married in 1967. Dad moved on from herd testing to share farming, and Mum joined him there. Very soon, the first child, Alison, was born in 1968. Mum could not wait to bring her back to Gordon Street to show her off to May. I followed soon after in 1970 and Greg in 1972. Share farming was replaced by farm and timbering near Rochester. Farm was a very generous term for that block. At that point, it was undeveloped. Mum and Dad needed to bring in the fences, the house, the dairy, and buy the herd. Mum established the house while Dad was out building up the farm, although Mum helped there too, and still managed to raise the 3 of us kids. It might have been Mum's own upbringing which gave her faith that she could leave us to our own devices around the house, but that changed when, at age 4, I decided her nice, freshly neat, clean kitchen needed a red paint job from a tin I found in the closet. She kept a much closer eye on us after that. It was very hard going in those years. Dad's fire and drive were superbly complemented by Mum's calm thoughtfulness, and together they moved things forward. Once we kids were old enough and at school, Mum returned to teaching at Rochester Primary School. Whilst it was very tough for Mum and Dad, I never felt that way as a kid. I recall one year for our birthday parties, Mum made very special cakes. There was a doll for Alison, a guitar for me, and a bust for Greg. We were all very proud of these cakes when our friends looked on with admiration when they were presented, and it was a talk of school afterwards, and I remembered they taste great too. In 1979, things were ripe for a move to a more developed block of land. Dad bid on a couple of farms without success. Mum provided the advice when making an offer for an old soldier settlement on Montgomery Road at Yarrawea, and it was successful. Dad was delighted. He remarked to Alison that he could not hug Mum enough for her advice and attributed her for that success. The following year, Mum got a role as a 3rd grade teacher at Cobram Consolidated School and continued this role for a few years. And many of her old students still remark to me today that she was their favourite teacher. The farm continued to improve, and after the family, it became Mum's priority. She reduced her educational role to relief teaching and eventually gave it away entirely. During those relief teaching years, we kids were often instructed not to answer the phone in the morning, because if Mum was asked, she could not help but could not say no to a school that needed her. Helping on the farm was not just managing the home and odd jobs around the place. Each year, Dad would agonise over the breeding of this cow with that bull in order to bring forward the next generation of cows to the herd, and Mum was often consulted on the more difficult choices. On the farm, Mum was definitely better in the dairy. Her calm temperament worked well with the animals, and over time she took the greater role in that, helped occasionally by us kids. Even when those same animals sometimes rewarded her with a bomb or a shower from above, while she was putting on the milking suction cups. She shared this lesson with me. Keep an eye on that tail above. If it starts to raise, get out of there. Thankfully, due to this lesson, I was never hit. She also was entirely in charge of raising the new calves. Many visitors would come to the farm and they would comment on how friendly our herd was, would come up and sniff at strangers rather than staying at a safe distance as many herds did. And this was a reflection of how first Mum, in her caring and raising them, and later Greg under her tutelage, as well as the attitude in the milking shed, made the cows fear they didn't have to fear humans. They were more like pets. and Mum would sometimes cry when a particular favourite cow or calf had to be sold off. Together, Mum and Dad won Commercial Dairy Herd of the Year in 1985. It was a proud success of a partnership between the two of them, and they both celebrated that achievement together. As we kids grew, Mum became the driver and chief supporter of our sporting events. Tennis, netball, cricket, athletics or football, Mum would get us there, hang around and watch us and get us back, usually in time for milking. But if not, we could pay the relief milker. For regional athletics, this meant having to drive for hours to sit around all day and watch us just for a few minutes while we competed in our events, and then hours back. Our success filled Mum with as much joy as it did ourselves. In fact, it did not need to be any success. She loved hearing any news at all about what we're doing, and this is true for anybody she was close to. Family holidays remained important to Mum, and when the farm was quiet, usually in June, we would travel. Each year we went a little further. It was Merimbula one year, Sydney the next, Coffs Harbour, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast. We worked our way up the east coast. There was also a trip to Adelaide, and I remember the summer holidays where we joined Sandra's family at the beach, Waratah Bay. And there was also an enjoyable trip I remember in the Grampians with Dad's side of the family, although there were many other trips to Dad's side as well. In the 1980s, Mum developed an interest in genealogy, tracing both the Eli and Thomas sides of the family back to the migration to Australia in the early gold booms. And further back to the family origins in Cornwall. And yes, there was one convict in the family, which Mum took great pride in calling out to us when she identified that black sheep. Mum maintained an interest in craft. First it was knitting, although after making jumpers for us all, Dad only wore his around the farm, and I tucked mine down the bottom of the drawer and never wore it, so she got a little discouraged by that. But she also made clothes on the sewing machine, and we wore those everywhere. I could still see her in my mind, pins held in her mouth, cutting out patterns on the table and pinning them to the fabric while she was listening to the radio. Cross-stitch was next, and after starting out with a few kits, she started to design her own patterns, and one such example was a beautiful silhouette based on Laurie's dad, which took pride of place on the wall. Mum was not into sport in any big way, apart from what we kids were doing, and Carlton Football Club. She must have been so disappointed when none of us kids followed Carlton, but then again, none of us followed Dad's team Melbourne either, so there was that. There was no kneeling when Carlton beat our teams, which back in those days was a lot. She was simply pleased to see her team win. In recent years, Carlton did not have much success, but Mum would still be watching every game, and if I called after a game, there would always be a comment on Carlton, and in particular on Charlie Curnow. She was delighted when her oldest granddaughter Emma announced that she was going to be a Carlton supporter. After a few years of persuasion, Mum convinced Dad to retire from the commercial farm. It was sold in 2004 with a move around the corner to the hobby farm on the Buin Road. Mum continued to cross-stitch and combined it with quilting, which after a family became her second love. Unfortunately, shortly after retirement in 2005, Laurie became ill with cancer. Mum was his chief carer, driving him all over appointments around the state. She still maintained her crafting, but Dad was a priority. Cancer beat Dad in 2006, leaving a large hole in Mum's life. The initial intention was to stay at the Buin Road because Mum loved that house and loved the memories, but it became too hard, so it's time for some changes. The small farm was sold and she moved into the Riverside house in Cobram. Mum adopted a little schnoodle pup she named Pringle, and she vowed to me after having a few working dogs she would not have a lap dog. But Pringle worked his way into her heart and she could not help but spoil him. He was a fantastic companion, and of course Mum had great pride in describing his antics to us on our regular check-ins along with everything else. Quilting, along with Pringle, became a central part of her life. It kept her busy, brought her back in contact with her regular neighbours, school friends, anybody that shared the hobby really. She was happy to talk quilting. Quilting tours, as Rhonda mentioned, took her around the world and around Australia. There was also a book club, the Genealogy Society, We're Farming Ladies, regular Thursday exercise class, and her jigsaw puzzles that I loved to do when she came to visit. She kept herself very active and really enjoyed the company of her friends. Mum loved to visit family in Melbourne, and she booked trips to Ireland whenever she could. She was very welcome with the in-laws. In fact, I remember when I first met Michelle, I made the joke that I was over there to check her out for Mum, and Michelle was adamant that I had to give back a good report, but she didn't need to worry. And Mum loves Michelle, and she loved the Burkes. And I know the Burkes in Ireland cherished her visits as much as Greg and Michelle did. Leah's parents, Ray and Carol Gillies, also made comments when they first met Mum, what a wonderful lady she was. And they would make detours and caravan trips to visit Cobram, to visit my mum. She just had a way to make people feel comfortable in her presence and enjoy her company. Over the last few years, I could see Mum begin to slow. Morning walks became shorter and eventually stopped altogether. I could hear that her breathing was becoming heavier, and I have to confess that I was very worried. Last year I asked Mum if she would have considered moving to Melbourne to be close to Alice and I so we could keep an eye on her. She was adamant that she would stay in Cobram. Here in Cobram she was happy. Here in Cobram she had her friends, and here in Cobram, even though she was aware of her own health issues, she felt very safe. So I thank you, her close friends and neighbours. We kids heard all about you and what you were doing for Mum, and we're so grateful that you made it possible to Mum to live the life that she wanted for herself. On Sunday, the 11th of January 2006, the life of a wonderful person ended. It came very quickly, and Mum would not have felt any pain. Raynor Thomas, Mrs. T, Mum. We miss you. We miss you deeply, but we'll continue to cherish you in our hearts. I've thrown a few anecdotes in there as well, but I just want to share a few other memories of Mum and what was her character. Mum was a very politely spoken lady and did not tolerate swearing around her. And as a boy, as we all do, we listened to Rodney Rood, who's a little robust in his comedy. And I was singing one of his songs and Mum heard me, and boy, did I get the right act for that. Even in the tough years in Rochester, when Dad would curse a blue street, I think the worst I heard from Mum was poop. Mum was always wanted to include other people, as a child, as an adult. And in primary school, there was a boy in my year called Ross Mundy, who, we all had boys like that, a little bit difficult in learning, a bit different, excluded, came socially, you don't mix with him. And Mum heard about this and asked me, why don't you play with Ross Mundy? And she set up subtly some meetings where it'd just be me and Ross Mundy and their family, and in that situation you play with them. And that gave him confidence, and he began to become integrated into the group. And that's just the way Mum was. I would have never, ever done that, but Mum, she just couldn't stand someone being excluded. Talking about cherishing success, and I'll finish on this one. There could be a lot more, I could go all day. But I remember when I was under 14s football, my first crack at Yowie Football Club. I was age 10, never really had the training before, could barely drop the ball on my foot. And all that year I'd be lucky to get 5 minutes in any particular game. The games went for about an hour. All year I got one kick. It was a loose ball, came out of a pack, I picked it up, turned around and got a kick away as I was tackled. It went all of 5 metres, straight to the opposition, right down to their forward line for a goal. I was devastated by that, but after the game, Mum was celebrating. You got your kick in. She went home and told Dad, he got a kick today. And by the time it was done, I felt like I was Charlie Curnow. I'm going to finish there on those few happy memories. Like I said, there'll be a lot more. I now call upon Alison to share her memories of Mum.
Thank you, Rhonda and Andrew, and everyone. Thank you, everyone that's come today or is watching from live stream to help celebrate Mum's life. And we're grateful too for the messages of support from others who have not been able to have joined us today. My own tribute focuses on Mum's caring, supportive nature, as well as her sense of adventure. And I'll start with some of her adventures first, and I think this possibly scratches the surface. But I look at Mum's adventure, and I think Mum inspired FOMO, or fear of missing out, long before the term became part of our current day language. One of those trips that Mum and Dad took us on They took the whole family up to World Expo 1988. It was an excellent exhibition. And in front of the expo site was a more extreme roller coaster called Titan. And I had to go back and research this. I remember the roller coaster starting very high, and it started off on a huge height angle, shot down, the carriage went up and ran the 2 or 3 fast loops of the roller coaster. And we'd finished one morning, we did this at night. I looked at the roller coaster, thought, no way, I couldn't go on that. Mum didn't hesitate, told us she was in. Okay, I thought, I can't be outdone by Mum, and with some jitters I committed. I do remember really enjoying the experience, but also that it was Mum who got me there. And then fast forward to her 60th birthday, it was Mum's dream to have a hot air balloon ride. Dad and other family were reluctant to come along, so it was Mum and I booked to go initially. That was in the Yarra Valley, and that first booking was fogged out. So Dad had some regrets about not booking initially, so he was in. The second balloon booked ride was go. We had an amazing ride over the early morning, great views of the vineyards, beautiful sunshine and patches of fog through the nearby hills and mountains. There is a video experience of this experience somewhere that I look forward to viewing it again, at some point in the future, near future. Then in 2019, Lake Eyre had water flowing in after being dry for many years, and Mum made some inquiries with the Shepherd and Aerodrome. Someone had cancelled. It was a fairly short notice, and so Mum jumped at the chance to book. It was an overnight trip, I can't remember where they stayed, Cooper's Creek I think it was, with a few stops for fuel along the way. Mum had an amazing experience, and we were treated some excellent photos on our family Viber chat group. Rhonda and Andrew have already spoken about Mum's travels. I'll cherish the memories of travelling with Mum twice to Ireland, once to see Neve as a baby in 2010, and also 15-16 months ago Mum's last trip to visit family in Ireland. That trip was organised fairly last minute, but we were so glad we went, and I've thought back on that trip a lot the past couple of weeks. And I'm thinking now about Mum's care across the community, family and community. And Andrew's mentioned this as well. I too remember stories of students enjoying Mum being their teacher. Mum's sense of community and care's been spoken about, and perhaps a more fun example, this was probably about 2010. There'd been floods on the Murray River, and Mum saw some international backpackers, French and German if I recall, walking on the road behind her house, and after being flushed out of their camping spot. Mum invited them up to the house and offered them to camp in her garage until they could find other accommodation. The neighbours were aghast, as were our family. But everyone's fears settled as everyone got to know the boys. Their stay turned into about 3 weeks, if I remember rightly, and they socialised with the neighbours, played with the children in the street. I think Mum said she went 3 weeks without cooking too much. Between one of the boys was a chef, and I think the neighbours helped with Mum too. So, but once they found their feet, they eventually moved on to their new experience. I think we kept in touch with them for quite a long time, and Mum last reported that one of them had moved back to Australia after they'd returned home and come back again. But we have great memories of socialising the street with Mum and the neighbours' care. The family, Andrew's mentioned the many trips, and perhaps I had them written here, but I won't cover them again. We had the trips to Queensland, the beach visits, Venus Bay as well, and an Easter trip with extended family camping down at Sumstead and the Grampians. Mum took us on some of those trips, but then those trips that Mum and Dad both took us on during the dry season in May, early June. So we never missed out. Mum celebrated our wins and provided care and a listening ear all of our lives. I'm very grateful to all the opportunities that Mum and Dad provided for us, supporting us through our education, other experiences as well. I too am thankful for the care Mum got back in return, and our Dad's family, who've treated Mum as part of the family. They sit the brother and sisters, and they've treated Mum as part of the family as all their lives. Sandra, Mum's sister Sandra and family. There was Michelle's family, the Burkes in Ireland, and Leah's family, the Gillies, and they all welcomed Mum with open arms. Then there's her many community groups. She had terrific neighbours and friends who Mum loved catching up with, and they looked out at her constantly. It's a common theme, and as we all speak. Mum, I'll miss you dreadfully. It's going to take me some time to just not having our regular chats. I thank you for everything. You and left me, family and friends with so many wonderful memories. I love you, Mum. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Andrew and Alison. What a beautiful tribute to your mum and giving us an insight into her. And to continue sharing, I would like to now ask Greg, her other son, to come forward and share some of his memories.
While Mum lived far away, thanks to her love of both family and technology, she was always in our lives. Family was a major part of Mum's life. I was always amazed that my aunts, uncles and cousins stayed in such close contact, visiting us on the farm and holidaying together. Even just before Christmas, on our last visit to Ireland, we stopped at Uncle David's for lunch. Mum came to visit us in Ireland 11 times, bringing many family and friends with her. When I got married, she arranged so many people: Dad, Andrew, Alison, Uncle David and Jenny, Auntie Rosemary, Uncle Brian, Auntie Sandra and her family, and many friends to come to Ireland for the wedding. She was so determined to have Australian family around that we almost outnumbered the Irish. When Auntie Madge and Uncle Ian couldn't make it to the wedding, she made them visit me twice. When I married, Mum extended her love of family and became part of my Irish family, always asking after and following each sibling's adventures and tribulations. She had many dinners, exchanged stories and sleepovers with them. I'm not quite sure which one of them I will blame for her love of Bailey's Irish coffee. She kept in contact with them, always writing Christmas cards, Easter cards, St. Patrick's Day cards, and had a hard time explaining why her writing was so nice and her children having chicken scratches for writing, and she being a teacher. In 2006, when my dad passed away, I feared that Mum would be alone, but this was not to be the case. Mum enjoyed her life in Cobram. There she had many friends and interests. She loved her house in Cobram and its view over the river. She was well known for walking the riverbank with her precious dog Pringle, and spent many happy hours sitting on the patio, watching people walking up and down. A highlight for her was watching the park run go by. Only Erin will truly understand the embarrassment one can feel when she rang the cowbell as you ran past. I'm so glad I brought my runners with me and got to do the park run just before Christmas, and sure enough, there was Mum ringing that cowbell again. She always told me she never felt alone, because she knew that if it was not a good time for Auntie Sandra or many of her friends, she could always call us in Ireland. Mum had a keen interest in technology. Our first computer predated Microsoft Windows. Through her persistence and interest, she always kept up to date with the latest technology, and thus we arrived at Viber, which we used to talk to her frequently. Many of her friends, including Trish, Pam, Kath and Doug, have popped their heads or hands on screen to say or wave hello. As she became less mobile and spent more time at home in recent years, she turned to technology and came into our house more often. We would have her sitting at the table and would be eating our dinner around her. Her love for her grandchildren stopped at no end when she discovered the due date of her first grandchild. She booked a flight and was straight over to see Emma. Later, I would discover that she wanted the birth certificate to apply for dual citizenship for her. It would be another 20 years before I would get the same. When Neve was born, we had freezing weather, so Mum decided to hold off coming over for a few months until the weather warmed up a bit. This gave me the chance to arrange Neve's dual citizenship before Mum was on my case. While she came to see her grandchildren, her interest in the world and trying new things was always there. On this visit, she made Alison go for a swim in the freezing Atlantic, while she watched on, togged out in coat, hat and scarf. Her love for technology would allow the girls to talk to her all the time. She became Emma's chief advisor on her third-year cross-stitch project. We spent many hours on Viber, where Mum provided tips on how to do it. Emma ended up getting top marks thanks to Mum. Mum's help was required again when Neve had a history project called The Past is My Place. She had to write a personal journey about her family. Who better to get family history information from than Mum? Mum's keen interest in genealogy over the years meant she had a wide array of pictures, news articles and facts that Neve could use. Again, the project got top marks thanks to Mum. Mum was so proud of the project, she printed it off and took it to her book club. I'm pretty sure some of you have seen it. Mum made it easy to share stories about school, holidays, sport, or whatever drama was happening at the time. And as time went on, the girls got older, the stories changed a bit. Discos and short dresses, graduations and ball dresses, starting university, boyfriends. She got to say hello to Emma's boyfriend, and Mum later commented, "Nice, glad he is tall." Last July, Mum even stayed up after midnight to watch Emma and Neve in a live stream of the Irish Rowing Championships on YouTube. The pride she had when Neve became All-Ireland Under-16 champion. While she would send photos and videos of the girls and their activities, Mum would love to share them with family and friends who would come to visit. And they all knew our stories. Mum was so proud to show us off. All my aunts, uncles, cousins knew about our lives in Ireland thanks to Mum. Mum's one failing in life, she could not convert her own children to be Carlton supporters, but she managed to convert mine and has them togged out in Carlton kits, and even the Irish sent her a good player for Carlton. Auntie Sandra, Mum's right hand, it's hard to see one without the other. Both were grandmas to my children and kept a very important chain of communication going. I would tell my mum tale of woe, and she would tell me about Fiona, Kate, Freddie, James, Lily, Anna, Iris and Velvet, keeping her important family together while letting it grow. Thank you, Auntie Sandra, for always being there, not just for Mum, but for me. I don't know how many times Mum made you move the beds around in your house for me and the girls. She'd be glad to know you're not done yet. Michelle is planning another trip, and you are still such a big part of our family. My beautiful wife Michelle is so heartbroken not to be here today. She and the girls are in the safe hands of her mum Nellie while I'm here. Mum and she had a beautiful relationship, chatting on after I went to bed, getting parenting advice, planning trips, sharing quilting and sewing interests, swapping books to read, talking about family and gathering stories to torment me about. Alison, Mum was so grateful you helped her get over here in 2024. We thought her travelling days were over after COVID, but the strong woman she was, even COVID would not stop her. Talk about when someone makes up their mind, there's no stopping her. A lot said by living by the seat of your pants. We will have a celebration of Mum's life back in our home in Ireland next month. While Mum lived far away, she was a huge part of our lives and will never be far from our hearts. Enjoy your heavenly home, Mum, as much as you enjoyed this one. We love you and miss you.
Thank you, Greg. Ireland, another piece of her life. So thank you so much. One thing that's coming through in all of this is about community, and living in a small community, it really shows how everyone rallies together to help each other. And I think, you know, if you haven't lived in a small town, you probably don't get it. But it's really lovely, and it's a testament to all of you here today how much she was loved. So thank you very much. And to finish our tributes, Raynor's niece, Kate, would like to share a few words.
Raynor, auntie to myself, Kate, sister Fiona, brother David, Raynor's nephew James, nieces Lily and Anna, and very dear sister to my mother Sandra, and someone so special to so many others. Our most sincere condolences to Alison, Andrew, Leah, Scarlett and Declan, Greg, Michelle, Emma and Neve, extended family and friends. I think it's fair to say we wanted more time with Raynor. We don't have a say in that, which makes this all the more difficult. It was her time, and something we all have to face in our own way. Upon hearing the news of her passing, I was immediately struck by the monumental amount of memories in my mind, stirring up a whirlwind of emotion. In recent days, I've come to realise these memories will now continue to keep her alive in my mind, for which I'm extremely grateful. I'd like to share some memories about time on the farms, as this was the essence of our time with Raynor in our early days. Growing up in suburban Melbourne, as a family we had a great deal of adventure, of experiencing the country dairy farm life on Raynor and Laurie's farms over the years. The outdoor dunny with complimentary spiders, gumboots and cow poo, chooks and eggs, haystacks and tractor rides, milking cows, feeding calves, 6 kids riding in the back of the ute, no seat belts. Was a life so different to ours in the burbs. I can still remember feeding Kimber, the sheep, with a milk bottle as a toddler, playing with Tonka trucks in the sand pit, and many years later riding my bike into Cobram, only to realise I was being targeted by swooping magpies. These were not the birds, like the birds in the suburbs, subtly trying to get your attention. They were actually trying to take me out. The only way I could stop them was to look back at them, which meant riding most of the way with my head turned backwards. When I finally got back to the farm, Raynor said yes, it's mating season and they were protecting their nests. Fiona said it's better than getting pecked in the head like Greg did. He wasn't happy. There were a lot of nests on the way to Cobram. I remember all of us cousins being dared to touch the electric fence. Try it with a blade of grass, it doesn't hurt as much. I'm not sure Mum and Raynor knew about that. Raynor always had plenty of chocolate quick in the pantry. Fiona and I ate copious, unauthorised amounts, most likely when Raynor was milking cows. We would move on to Milo if we had to. I'm not saying this was right. This was not what we had in the pantry at home. I still remember how different fresh dairy milk tasted. Raynor wasn't renowned for her passion for cooking, although looking back she was a tower of strength, doing farm life and getting meals on the table the way she did. It was simple food, meat and 3 veg, and very welcomed, especially by 6 demanding, energetic kids when we visited. I will always remember her coconut custard. We were lucky enough to bring our family dogs up to the farms, at first Loopy, who had the privilege of being allowed on the porch. Rex or Tiger were not allowed, this is farm dogs. This has probably struck a nerve in the animal kingdom. Peach, our lovely long-haired golden retriever, took a fetish for rolling in fresh cow poo and occasionally eating it. I know. You can imagine the dog breath on the car ride home. We lived that. The mulberry tree was epic and celebrated with huge amounts of fruit in season. I recall enjoying doing the ride on mowing around the mulberry tree, and there was a spray of colour on the ground from the berries that had fallen. I also mowed over a sprinkler without knowing and damaged the mower blades, and Laurie was not happy. Raynor was very quiet, which was unusual. I knew I was not popular, but they still let me come back to the farm, thankfully. I always remember Raynor's love and affection for animals, including names for all the cows. Tiger, the enthusiastic Kelpie, loved riding on the back of the motorbike and simply embraced farm life as you would want a dedicated farm dog to do. I was introduced to riding on the motorbike on the farm, and I loved it. I remember feeling the feeling of my hair in the breeze, and yes, again, no helmets. This fueled a passion for riding motorbikes for decades to come. Sorry, Mum, this is where it all started for me. And I've later come to realise mothers don't like their daughters riding motorbikes. Fiona's children, James, Lily and Anna, have enjoyed many journeys to Cobram, including Thompson's Beach, visiting cows, Christmas celebrations, and many more discoveries with lifelong memories. Raynor's sense for adventure was consistent throughout her life. From early days venturing up north Queensland, far north Queensland, with Mum and school friends, and Mum tells me Raynor organised all of that. Her trip to the Otways, treetop adventures later in life, Mum said they didn't ask our age, they were in their 70s, as they got on board the Flying Fox platform to platform ride. Raynor was first, so she could enjoy laughing and watching her sister Sandra come in behind her, clumsily trying to land on the platform with a great deal of uncertainty. I'm 100% sure Mum would not have done this without Raynor's thirst for adventure. And so pleased it was the cause for so much laughter for years to come. I look around at the generous gifts in Raynor's creative quilting craft. She was so talented, and it was an honour to have such a clever craftswoman in the family. And I remember telling her this. As I remember conversations, laughter, her voice and breadth of character, I realise she will never leave us, and I hope that resonates with everyone. We love you, Raynor. Rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Kate. Some really beautiful tributes and some wonderful memories, gives you a clearer insight into Raynor's life. So let's put our hands together for our speakers. I'd like to now present a photographic tribute. These images capture the life Raynor lived, the moments she cherished and the love she shared with those around her. As you watch, take a moment to remember her, to smile at those memories, and to reflect on the impact she had on your lives. Please enjoy.
Okay, this one's for Gabby. underneath up, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
It's wonderful memories. For those who wish, please join me now as we say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. When we lose someone, we carry their legacy forward in the stories they told, the values they lived by, and the love they gave so freely. And Raynor's spirit continues in the way you live, the kindness you show, and the memories you hold close. Raynor, rest now. At the end of your days, your work is done, and you now live on in the hearts and the minds of all who love you. Thank you, family and friends. That concludes our service in honour of Raynor here in the church. Given it is quite warm outside, for those not continuing to the cemetery, on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank you for your love, support and attendance today, and also to those that are joining us remotely. You are all welcome to join the family for refreshments at the Cobram Bowls Club, and I'm sure that Alison, Andrew and Greg and the family would love to hear your stories that made Raynor's life so special. The family would like to extend a special thank you to the doctors and the staff at GV Health who lovingly cared for Raynor during her final 8 days. Their compassion, kindness and professionalism, not only to Raynor but the family, is greatly appreciated. Shortly, we will accompany Raynor to her final resting place at the Cobram Cemetery. We'll finish here with a song that reflects the love and light Raynor brought to your lives. You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban is a beautiful reminder of how she lifted, supported and inspired those around her, and how that love remains with you. Thank you. Could I please ask you all to stand as the music starts, and could our coffin bearers please come forward?
You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. Raise me up. Raise me up.